All right, we are live.
I'm always live.
Welcome to the show. And today is Blue Day, if you can't tell. Yes, we all decided to wear blue today. We planned that.
It was coordinated.
We're very coordinated. We're very strategic in our approach to everything. So, including our wardrobe.
You guys all have hats.
All right. Oh, yeah. You did not want to see me after I just unloaded in Arkansas without a hat. I promise you. Woo!
Hi, guys. It's Toasty here.
She said she was grungy. Well, Tony likes to always get the conversation started before we go live, which is always such a great thing. So we're gonna start on that. Tony, update us on where your racks are. Oh, actually, did we ever tell the story of it? Give the story.
No, we never did. So we deliver to some job sites where they're building an apartment building or some apartment complex or facility or whatever, and the windows are on an L-buck. It's a metal rack that's shaped like an L, and the windows lean up against it, and it protects one side and the bottom. And then they're secured to the L-buck, and the L-bucks are stackable. We can stack them in a trailer or whatever, but they get to the customer, and then they're able to be forklifted or lull lifted off the trailer with a pallet jack, bringing them to the tail because it's a job site and there's no dock. And there they sit. But those racks are expensive, and we need them, so we go get them. And I booked a guy to go get it, required a pallet jack, told him what we needed, and then I gave him my standard carrier expectations list, overview of the plant with the shipping door and the receiving door, where to go, where the address was, why the dock door was not at the address. So when you Google map it, it doesn't bring you to the receiving door instead of the shipping door, and all of those kind of things. And the proactive communication that we expect and what we want. And we got, we can do it. Pallet jack, that's fine. 30 and 30 at the two stops to pick it up. Similar nearby places in Nebraska. All good coming back to Indiana. About a 550-mile run. I don't know exactly how many racks were at each place. Honestly, couldn't tell you. We didn't do a very good job of keeping track of what was sent out over multiple months, and we were just collecting what we could get. Now, our trucks do this as well, and we did at least 60 on a truck with no problem. 88 on a truck pretty regularly with posts full of windows, but when they're not stacked, you can fit them 7-8 high inside a van trailer, and they ride fine. No response from the broker. So I email him again. Hey, I put sales on it because I don't talk to the customer. I don't have contacts at the pickup point, which is our delivery point. But he says, hey, I don't have a bill of lading, and my driver's on site. I already coordinated it with the shipper, or with what would be the shipper, which is our receiver. And I says, well, it's the same place you accepted the load. You can print out the BOL. So I downloaded them and I sent them to him in that email in a PDF. I said, here, there you go. He's like, well, the guy's on site now. We'll just use the Raycon. Well, okay, then you didn't need the BOL anyways, I guess. Whatever. So there's whoop-de-doo number one. You didn't even get the BOL off of the load tender that you voluntarily accepted. As well, driver picked up. He's like, okay, cool. So the next, he doesn't have a BOL there either. So I said, well, I sent him to you, so you can just send him to it. Okay, well, fine, don't worry about it. We'll use Raycon. Okay, that's fine with me. I don't care. And we go. A few hours later, driver's really concerned about these racks hitting his doors and tearing them up, so he's full and he's not going to be able to get them all. Okay, well, it's pretty easy to fit 60 racks on there, so as long as you bring us 60, then you'll have done your part, we'll have done ours, and everything's cool. And next morning, driver's in our dock. When we get there, we open the door, and there's 20 feet of empty trailer space. He just decided he wasn't going to haul them, and he took, we got, I think, 37 total on the trailer, on a 53-foot van trailer, and we routinely haul 70, 80 on ours. So I take a picture and send it to him, and he was like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, he just didn't tell me. And, we had to pay him extra for a pallet jack. I'm like, right, but you accepted that in the load tender, so that was all in there. You knew that. That's on you. I don't care if you had to pay him extra. You accepted the load. You said yes. I mean, nobody held a gun to your head and made you say yes. All right, I'll see what I can do. No answer, no answer, no answer. I said, all right, listen, here, I can pay you. And I did the math. I was like, well, that's like 63% of the 60. I said, you can either send another truck in or 63% of the load that you actually are hauled. And he says, nothing, no response. So I copy in our North American truckload manager guy who has a relationship with this guy at some point. And it's like, yeah, you need to take care of this. So he's no response, no response. So I get on LinkedIn. I find the guy's VP at his company. I use the same email format against them that they use on me all the time to flood my inbox. And I says, hey, I need some help here. This guy's not giving us any answers. I need my load finished, completed, send the driver back, send another truck. I don't care. I just do what you agree to do. He's like, I'm going to check into this. I'll get back to you very shortly. 20 minutes goes by, and I've got a nasty gram from this guy to reply all with our sales team and everybody on it. You don't have to get my VP of transportation involved because I can handle it. And I'm like, dude, but you didn't. He's like, I got a truck going in there today to pick up the rest. All right, cool. Thanks. That's all I asked. That's it. 2 days go by. I see no trailer, no truck, no racks. I don't know what I'm going to do here. And I reach out again on that same email chain, and I say, hey, where's the truck? Because as far as I could tell, nothing's delivered. I don't sit at both ends of the door all day and find out what came through, but I don't see any racks. They didn't come in. He's like, oh, well, it's DOT week, so I couldn't get anybody in there. I said, but you told me you had a guy in there same day. What? Just racks. Honest to God, I don't even care. I just need the job done that you agreed to do. I just don't want to give them away.
Hey, you're breaking up, Tony.
So we finally got our racks, and it was a fiasco. And somehow or other, we accidentally clicked on this and tendered a load to him. My guy says he didn't do it, and our software messed up, but I think he made a mistake. Anyway, it was a similar, it wasn't the 3-letter name you're thinking of, but it was a 3-letter blah, blah, blah brokerage, and it was very similar to the one that we were trying to pick. And I think he got in a hurry and picked the wrong one. So in the meantime, last week, we're still waiting on all these racks. I don't want to ever see this guy again, hopefully, or talk to him. And we email him again, being proactive because they weren't, and said, hey, what's the ETA for pickup on this load? It's 2 o'clock. We stopped shipping at 2:30. No trucks here. He's like, oh, man, I really messed this up. It must have fell through the cracks. So then he gets us a load the next day. The following day, sorry for this foobar. That was a quote. So then they get to the receiver, and it's a Friday. And he's like, hey, the receiver's not there. They're not open. I'm like, well, I guess you should have covered it the day it was supposed to pick up then. But long story short, we had to get sales involved. They had to come out and pay a guy to come in and unload the truck. We got him unloaded, all because he was just a terrible broker. And this guy wants our business, and I don't know why he's even in our mix. But, yeah, it was fun. So I'm not here to name names. I'm not going to call him out or his company. It was all hot garbage, and I'd never use him again. And he'd have to think real hard about ever contacting me again. Pretty sure that's getting blocked.
So that's the time that Tony sends this to me and Chris Jolly, and you know how me and Jolly are, like when it comes to doing things correctly. So we're all pissed off. Like we're texting each other, me and Jolly are. Like Tony's not even involved anymore. We're like, this son of a bitch, like we're going off on it. And I don't know, I just thought it was funny, but it does kind of raise, the spotlight on the fact that I've sat and I've listened to brokers bitch about carriers or drivers about this and that, but there's so much that happens on the other end too that is just as bad. And the great part about the show, the great part about what I do on LinkedIn, or what everybody that is active on LinkedIn gets from it is, you pull yourself out of your own role, and because everybody's in their own world and that's all they think about, and everybody else is to blame, but until you start realizing that it's happening on all fronts, there's always shitty people and shitty employees that are working anywhere. It's your job to avoid them and find the good ones to work with.
Yep.
And so
there's some great brokers at TQL. There's some great brokers at CH Robinson. There's some great brokers at whatever company that you're going to say is garbage. But I don't care what the company is. It's the person. I tell people all the time, I've said this for years, ever since we've been doing this. One of the best brokers I ever dealt with, probably still my favorite of all time, was Jason a TQL guy. And he was awesome.
I'm going to give him a shout out. Tony, hang on just a sec. I just unloaded a TQL. I grabbed one when I came out of Canada. And Josh Heatherly, I'm telling you, TQL guy, I'm like, oh, crap, I've got to do it. Let me tell you, from the moment one, this guy has been like the bomb. Mm-hmm. And whenever they all were like, oh, well, I can help you. He's not here. He's not there. And I'm like, yeah, he's right there. Shut up and give me the phone. And Josh gets on. He took care of everything. I mean, it was like, I got no TQL phone calls. I did my check-ins verbally, and they checked DOD. Let me tell you, shout out, Josh. You're the bomb. He is in love with you too, by the way. Hey, he follows both of you. He watches all your shows. So, yeah. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying, Ingrid. We're out here telling you, as a shipper, as a driver, as a carrier, and as a broker, we're all out here telling you how easy it is to be excellent in this business. And if they just listen and do it, it's not hard. It's literally, Jolly was telling me, he said, I totally understand why you guys hate brokers. I'm like, it's not that we hate them, they're just bad. And he gets it. He's like, I just never dreamed anybody would ever be that bad.
I'm going to say this, okay? Brokers think the rest of us are stupid. Brokers think the rest of us don't understand anything in the industry at all. And what they do is they discount the fact of what we do know individually, okay? Right. I know you two. I know what you've done. And same thing with me. My diversification in this industry doesn't just go from me being in this truck, or doesn't go with what kind of freight I pull. I've been to broker school. I've had my authority. I mean, how long did I have? 41 and a half years. So what does that mean? I booked my own loads. I did all of my back office work, all my safety work. So don't take carriers, and especially drivers in small companies and owner-operators, and think that we don't know anything. And then sometimes we probably know more than you know, because you ain't been at it long enough to know anything.
It's also, again, you got to look at it from the standpoint of, you say brokers think, right? Just like what you said there. Some brokers think.
Some.
Right. Just like,
and I'll clarify that. Sorry,
just like
the
some
ones that don't do that.
Some drivers really don't know very much, and some drivers really are bad, and some carriers really are bad, and some shippers suck. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. And so again, it's just finding the right ones. And TQL is at the size it's at, and these other places are. And I've said this before. That's why, Tony, that's why guys at TQL follow still. We don't ever bash anybody on here, because we look at it realistically. Right. When you get to a certain size and you're going to scale, you literally cannot control the culture of your company after a certain size. And because there's just, there's too much going on there. And so at that point, then it's, where do I find the individual that's going to take care of me? Where do I find the guy because there are some really good, I know some I went the Ball State, with the college with, that are still there at the one in Indy that are just freaking excellent and have had people with them forever. So that's all it is really at the end of the day, is finding those. But it's the same thing with carriers, same thing with drivers. Like, I used to tell my guys all the time, they'd be like, man, this driver, I'm like, quit bitching about carriers and messing around. What are you doing to source good ones? Like, are you doing anything?
Right.
Like, you're not going on DAT every time and go just post.
You're just dropping load board loads. Go out there and research them. Use the tools that are out there. There's carrier vetting. There's broker sure, carrier sure, all of that. There's tons of stuff out there that will automate that process for you and give you a 90% success rate, where you don't have to be bad. If you're bad in this day and age with the tools and technology out there now, it's because you have chosen to be lazy.
Yeah.
As a shipper, I ask to give me the name on the door, so that when that truck backs in, I know that he's going to get paid, or she, whoever it is.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys. I got this cold.
It's not even that you choose to be lazy. It's that it is that you choose that, but it's easy to be. there's a lot of loopholes. I've always talked about that. There's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of easy ways you can take shortcuts and still make money. And that's why there's people that make money in this industry that shouldn't be, but they do. So, it just is what it is. It's you choosing to do it the right way, but you dictate your experiences. I always said that. Like, you dictate your own experiences. It's up to you who you choose to work with, how you choose to find them. Whether you go through references, whether you go through, whatever it is, like Ingrid, right? She right off the bat, she wants a good experience on a load. She's texting me on Memorial Day. I'm up at the lake. It says, "Hey, I'm going to Bismarck. I'm being Bismarck. I need a load out of there. What do you have, right? Or do you know anybody that does?" The first thing I think of is Gabe over at Rocket. So I text him, and they got together. And he couldn't find a load that last minute there, but I know he's got some stuff out there. So things like that. Like right off the bat, she's saying to herself, "All right, well, first off, I'm going to try and dictate my own experience here by getting maybe a referral or going through somebody I know first." Doesn't always work out for you, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to do what you got to do. But if you put the effort in, it's a lot easier. I'm just going to slap my truck up there on DAT and go with Sunshine Express.
Whoever shows
I'll
up.
say this too.
Right.
I'll say this is, call the warehouse as well as you. Absolutely, Jason. I'll interrupt. Jason just asked Ingrid, if you're ever running late, do you ever call the warehouse as well as your customer? Hey, they probably get tired of hearing from me. Literally, they know who I am before I get there, when I load, and when I leave, and then they know me in between. I call every shipper before I go load, and I call every delivery before I get there.
Ingrid, I'd love for you to haul us, but we don't even have phones. Good luck. But you have myself. Never mind. Dang it.
I know. Well, the one that I just delivered to, I had to go corporate, and I couldn't get a hold of it, but it worked out. Guys, I've had the crud since last Saturday, so sorry. I mean, it's been like crap. What I was going to say is, we all had to start learning. We had to learn. The thing is this is all about relationship and the individual, but it's about how bad you want it. How much are you willing to invest in educating yourself? I had a guy that answered the phone a while ago that said, "Are you a custy?" And I went, "A what?"
Was it TJ?
And he said, "Yeah, are you a custy?" And I said, "I would ask you how old you are, but I'm afraid I would be telling how old I am, because what the hell is a custy?"
I'm the king of like ridiculous slang in this. And I swear to God, I don't think I'm not gonna say I was the one that created that either. But there's
I've heard you use it.
I had never heard it. Okay, so he goes, "Well, I mean, that's a customer," and I said, "Listen, you're old enough to be my grandson. It sounds like. So I'm just gonna tell you that. Let's stay to the basics." No, I'm not, but thanks anyway. And he just dived up and he goes, "Maybe I should think about who I talk to when I answer the phone." And I'm like, maybe so. But we all learn. And there's so many different levels and the age gap and the generations. We have to learn to work with every single one of us, instead of getting crappy about it. He was great. And, I learned from no other than I know that one created it or that one, wherever you're at. So thanks, TJ. Yeah.
So Memorial Day weekend, I'm at the ballpark with TJ because he's up in my town 2 minutes from my house at a tournament, a big tournament for Little League. And I'm talking to his mom, and I'm probably split the difference in age between TJ and his mother. And he said, "Hey, Mom, isn't it great that you can have a custy out here and talk like that?" I'm like, dude. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Dead on. It is about how much you want to be better in the industry. And there are great carriers and there are crappy carriers all at one company. There are great brokers and crappy brokers all under one name. And there are great shippers and there are bad shippers, even within one company, one location. It's across the board. It's just, who wants to be good, go get it. It's there for the taking, and we're trying to give you all of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, and it's if you want to customer retention in addition to your mom.
I listen to your mom.
Depending. But yeah, that was a good time.
I guess my really latest bitch is I'm so sick of broker pitting against carrier and carrier pitting against broker. And what nobody understands, or no, they understand it, they just don't believe it, is that honestly, carriers can still be carriers and freight can still be moved without brokers. It's the fact
Yeah.
that brokers don't understand that there really doesn't have to be as many, or really if any, if carriers decide to want to go direct all the way around. And so I think making yourself a little feeling like you're above what we are, or above a carrier, or feeling like you're the boss of the situation, it doesn't work that way. It works that both of you have to work together if that's going to work.
It's a
If
team.
you want to pull a yeah, it's a teamwork, and if you want to pull the boss card, there's not one. That boss card went out the window years ago whenever there became more and more brokers and shippers started using them. And, shippers have to realize, yeah, they may be paying the bill, but in all honesty, they're not the boss either, because without carriers, they can make all the product they want. Every manufacturer can manufacture all they want. It's not going to get moved unless
That's why we
they
have our own
work
truck.
with the carrier.
Well, you guys, and you got to understand that. I always tell my people too, like, there's times that you do have to be the boss card, and so Ingrid, like I said, you're kind of a special breed, and you're the type that, like, you want your life to be easier as a broker. So it's like, hey, when you get somebody like that, let them run with it, let them do their thing, right? But then there's some that you have to just babysit. I mean, they're that bad. It's just, and so it's like, you can't go in I always tell my, my kids this, when they get up to the plate, it's like, you can't go in knowing what you're going to do before you see the pitch. I'm not going to swing, or I am going to swing. Like, you got to see the ball and then react, right? It's the same thing when you get hooked up with the carriers. How is this? How is this person? Talk to them, get an idea how they act and what they do, and things like that before you try to pull a boss card, or before you let them run with it when they shouldn't be running with it. And they do need a little more supervision. But, Ingrid, at the end of the day, the tough part about that is like, unless carriers are going to be willing to go to, 45, 60, 90 day net pay, it's just not going to happen. I mean, that's the hardest part. And that's what brokers deal with too, is that, they offer the quick pay, of course. And then they also have, payment terms that are there, get the drivers paid a lot quicker. And that's the hard part with how many, five truck or less carriers there are out there. They can't wait 90 days to be getting paid by some of these companies. And so that's kind of one of the biggest things I'd say there is that really kind of, affects that, the amount of technology. Now, the big thing too, is I notice it's not just the shippers, but like their customers, a lot of times are dictating things that, like the type of technology, the type of tracking, the type of all this stuff that costs a lot of money. And without the volume, it's hard to justify it. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to justify going to get this type of software without the volume. And how do you get a carrier to be able, or how do you get those conversations to where, hey, if you can, dedicate or give me that volume, I'll justify getting that technology, but not for 1 or 2 loads to come in and try and prove myself. And then what? So it's just a big dynamic that I don't think will ever really get broken into. Or broken down from that standpoint. The problem is that as you get more volume, like anything, you put asses in seats, and a lot of those asses are not good. And how many times we'd bring them in and be like, man, this dude's a turd. There's so many turds, and you can't polish a turd. There's no way around it. You got to flush them. So it's like, there's some turnover there. There's some inexperience. And I talked to some shippers even, that are like, I'm like, with the type of freight you have and just how your network is built, you're going to, when a bigger company is, bigger brokerage has you, a lot of times, they're going to give you maybe, just from a volume, from a margin standpoint, you may be at the kind of the bottom of the totem pole customer wise. You're going to get the new guy. You're going to get the inexperienced guy. That's just how it is, because, the threat of losing you as a customer isn't as bad as maybe another one. And so it's just that balance of what is. And if you can get in, like Tony, Tony tries to be, they want to be a shipper of choice, right? Or if you're a carrier, you want to be a carrier of choice. You want to be a direct. You can find those people. and you can find the people that have the good freight, that have the good margin, that have the good, things like that. And as a driver, you can find those direct customers. You sprinkle them in there. You got a couple here and there, and maybe go off referrals and build from there. But it takes work. It takes effort. There's just a lot of ways you can go out and just do it mundanely and easily and have it kind of handed to you and still make money, but you still see them end up complaining. People still complaining because when things turn, you're not prepared for when the market turns because everything was easy there for a while. So I think that's the biggest.
The people complaining, the people that complain, and I had to learn this the hard way because I was a complainer for a long time. But the people who complain just aren't willing to get better, and that's what it came down to for me. I had to get fired, or I don't know, severance, and go learn how to do my job all over again for somebody else with all new methodology and practices. And and it made me better. I mean, getting let go was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because I'm a way better shipper than I ever was before because I had to learn how to do everything again somebody else's way. And then I started putting two and two together and figuring out that if I can take something from here and something from there and put it together, I can come up with a third way that's even better than both of those. And then who knows what that'll bring. And then I can start bringing people in and we can bounce information off of each other. And then next thing you know, we're creating a fourth way that makes everybody better and everybody happier. And we save some money in the process. And pretty soon people are coming to you for advice and you look down and you're like, someone calls you an expert and you're like, wait a minute, I'm just some jackass that figured, oh wait, it's been 30 years, I guess. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I've had people call me an expert and I'm like, well, I mean, it's been 30 years. Maybe I am. I don't know, but I don't think I'd ever call myself that. But it's an interesting dynamic, though. You suddenly stop complaining when you start learning.
Yep.
And when you learn enough, you don't need to complain because you'll figure it out. You become a problem solver, and that positive mindset takes over, and then the complaining goes away.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that, Tony. Real quick, I want Ingrid to go touch on this too, but that's kind of where I was at because it was like, I've been in this 10 years basically, and I came in and was wanting to learn, right? Wanting to be a problem solver, came up with ideas and stuff. And I was just not that far into it and was being told, wow, you know a ton, you're an expert too, or you're this and that. And it's like, I didn't take that as because I knew I didn't have the experience yet to be one. However, to me, it just made me realize that, hey, there's a lot of people that aren't doing it right out here. You don't realize sometimes, I think, the edge you have on people, but just by being using common sense and working hard and solving problems and things like that. Like, there's just a lot of people that aren't doing it. You don't realize it till you come out and you say something that's just basic that you think people would be doing, and they're saying, "Well, that's a great idea. You know a lot." And I'm like, I do? Like, I would assume that everybody was doing it this way. So, it's interesting that you said that, because I think that's the biggest thing, is that when it clicks in your head and you're like, man, if you're out there and you're working hard, you're doing things right, you have, your morals are there, your ethics are there, your follow through is there, you're ahead of 75% of the people.
It blew my mind one day, and this is where that light switch turned on. I was sitting in a boardroom of a big company, listening to these pitches over and over and over about their TMS system, blah, 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 this and that and the other. And I had VPs and, all of these, we were in the boardroom, and they had no idea what they were really pitching. And they asked me to explain it. And then I started, and I'm like, guys, this is freaking basic. And then I was like, whoa, watch your mouth there, Chad. And it was just basic stuff for me because I live in that world. Those guys don't live in that world. That's when I realized, man, I might be onto something here with knowledge and experience, because these guys in the boardroom are running the company, and I'm just the shipping specialty guy. So they're looking to me for that expertise, not them. I just have this inadequacy, self-worth thing where I always feel like I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And when that topic went down and that conversation was happening, and I realized that I was, as far as the topic concerned and the consideration that we were going over, that I, in that narrow, rumble strip on this side and rumble strip on this side, you got my reference there, Ingrid, the highway, that inside those rumble strips, I was the smartest guy in the room. And I felt bad because I'm like, I shouldn't be the smartest guy in the room. These guys all make 25 times what I make. I'm just I work at the one plant. it was really crazy to learn that. And sometimes you don't see yourself as the guy until somebody else explains to you that you're the guy. You're just carrying on about your business. You know, when you're running your owner operator business, I'm sure you've been doing this long enough. You know that there's taxes, there's repair and maintenance. You're running a business. You're an accounts collectible. You're an accounts receivable clerk. You're a dispatcher, and you got to do maintenance and repair. And your maintenance, your PM scheduler. What else do you have to do? What other jobs do you have to do besides driver? Where everybody wants to get in a truck. I'm going to go buy a truck. I'm going to be owner operator. I tell everybody, if you're going to do that, go put somebody in that truck, pay them what you think they're worth to do that job, and then handle the difference. Handle all that other stuff for the margin, and tell me whether or not it's worth it. And they never do it because they know it's not really worth it, and they go drive somebody else's truck. But you're a rare breed.
Well, you know, when I swapped over, and I did last August, and I'm driving for cleaner, because I thought I was going to retire. And I, started to go back underneath mine, and I'm like, hey, I'm almost 62. What am I thinking here? But it still stays the same. And I hate advice and I hate opinions. And the reason I do is because that's not reality.
Right.
If I haven't experienced it and I can't share that experience with somebody, and they see my outcome, whether I failed or whether I succeeded, then they can make their decision to listen to what I had to say by, okay, if I do it, I might have the same outcome of success, or I might fail, or I might find a different way to twist it a little bit and make it better. And then I really had to face something, just like you said. I always felt like that I have been kind of that just getting by. I'm a driver.
Yeah.
I'm a driver. I don't have the knowledge to help someone become a better driver, or to understand the industry, or to stay in the industry and face the retention. And I realized that I was part of the problem of people not wanting to be a driver, or people looking at us because we're our worst enemy. Drivers are our worst enemy. We literally can tear each other down. We can paint a picture of black. We can, before we actually put a honest opinion and a screen of how do you make it. Listen, drivers don't come in this industry to carriers. And carriers, I'm going to shoot this at you. You are the biggest fault of retention. You bring people into this industry, and especially those that run schools and bring drivers out of schools. And what you're doing is you may teach them how to do all the point pre-trip to pass their test. And you may teach them that they need their last four numbers of something, of their birth date, to be able to get fuel. But you don't teach them lifestyle and life and what it's really going to be out here. So when they get out here, they're completely shell-shocked. Mm-hmm. And then you have drivers that were like me, and I'm first to admit that and I'm sorry to all you drivers I've ever pounded in history, that I have pounded and said, geez, you steering wheel holder, what are you doing? I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. But, I stopped one day and I thought, I know why they did it. They don't know any better. They don't understand it. They're facing the loneliness, the family going, oh, wait a minute, you've been home your whole life and now you're gone. Get home. Or you're facing a child on the phone, or you're facing a medical. It's like, I haven't been to the doctor. I've got to go to the doctor in the morning because this stuff has got a hold on me and it's not turning loose of this whatever crud I got. But, they don't understand how to face and deal with this stuff. So you know what they do? They bail. There's no retention. They get out. They're done. Or they job hop to where they think somebody else is going to give them that line of knowledge. So then you've got a carrier that's like, okay, why are you job hopping? Or I don't understand why you're not getting it. Then you got drivers out here that are like, are you an idiot? I mean, come on, it's pretty simple. You go get a shower, you wash your dirty feet, you don't stink. And they're like, well, it's my first time in a truck stop. Do I just go and open the door and take a shower? I mean, honestly, it's that simple, but it's that big of a problem for somebody that's trying to completely figure out this whole industry. And then it feeds back to the carrier. They're late. They don't understand how to communicate. The dispatch.
I got a question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
You remember? Okay, so that law passed that whatever now shippers, receivers, whatever, they have to allow access to the restrooms. I have been out of the truck for, I don't know, a decade of full-time driving at least. What is it really like out there? Is it really that hard to find a bathroom? Because I've planned my stops, and and I'm a guy, so it's a little easier to, park on the side of the road real quick if you have to or something. But is it really that bad? I mean, I've been to some of these steel places, and when I was pulling the flatbed or covered wagon or whatever, there was a lot of places that wouldn't let drivers have access to the inside plant bathrooms because of what they've done.
It's a rare breed to get a bathroom inside. I'm going to say Americold Lineage, thank you very much. Y'all always provide bathrooms. I just delivered. There's a huge sign up there that says no restrooms. But there's a big office over here that's got 3 ladies I saw and a couple guys, and then there's warehouse. Tell me there's not a restroom somewhere. And there's no porta potty outside. Sorry, anybody I go to deliver or pick up from, I'm not using a porta potty. You can take that back where you found it. I'm not doing it. No. So, the best thing we can do, especially for women, is, you go and you get a camp porta potty. And then that's aggravating. And it's in my head that, oh my God, this is in my truck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like having a pair of dirty socks in a truck. I can't stand it. I'm just OCD about it. But, it's like emergency. What do you do? I sit and listen to some of these people talk about, well, what do you do? And it's like they do the best they can, because if they don't, they're not going to make their pickups and deliveries. But no, Tony, you're right. I mean, I'm waiting to see what this law is really going to be. I'll say out on the West Coast, especially your produce sheds and stuff, 90% provide nice restrooms and stuff. What I'm finding is your smaller shippers, you're going to find that there's quite a few that have restrooms there too. You're not going to find one at a grocery warehouse. You can write that off. Sorry, all you grocery warehouses. I can say I love you, but I don't, because you know what? I'm stuck. There's not a bathroom, and you don't empty your porta potties about once every month. And no, it ain't happening. So I think this law is going to help if it's enforced. My thing is who's going to enforce it?
Exactly.
There's no enforcement agency.
Just like the double brokering. Nobody's going to enforce it because it's not. It makes no financial. There's no revenue to enforce it. There's no incentive. The incentive is to hand out another DOT number because you get their $400.
You think that somebody's going to go around and check and see if they have a bathroom?
And my thing is I'm just always thinking freight. I love freight. And the first thing that hit my head is, everywhere I go, I'm always looking and I'm always like, ooh, there's an opportunity, right? So I'm thinking, man, I'm going to start calling some porta potty places. You know what I mean? Because they're shipping them. How many companies went out and bought one, just, let's just slap one on the property, whatever. We may never empty it, but at least we have one. We can say we provided it, right? So it's like, how many of those are shipping? How many of those are moving, right? What about the producers of them?
But has that passed federally, or I'm sorry.
I don't know. I just saw the article that some law had passed.
I think it has to pass once it was federal. I think it now has to go, and it has to be implemented by state. So now you're playing a double fold here, and it's like
my thing was I was just like excited because it was something new. I've never I've never shipped Johns. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm going to dig in on this. Maybe there is something. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's a shit lead, if you know what I mean. Thank you.
You know what? Yeah. Pun
But
intended.
but Ingrid, what you were talking about before too, you described what I used to deal with and still kind of do now, on the brokerage side. You know, with drivers, you know, I mean, you bring people in, they get trained on just like what they need to know to be able to work the TMS or whatever it is. You know, and what made me good, I was blessed that I had a mentor that took me under his wing. You know what I mean? Just like it would make a driver good, right? Is have somebody take them under the wing, show them the ins and outs of the road and those things.
All right.
But it's the same thing. You deal with the same thing on the brokerage side too. You know, and then they want a job, then they think, oh, I'll go over this job because it's easier, right? Because then the retention's harder, or they just bail on the industry in general because they were never really told, you know, the right ways to do it or the ins and outs and all that stuff. So it's something that it's funny how you describe it almost to a T on what I remember talking to people about and what we dealt with too, you know, from broker standpoint, from a retention and from a quality standpoint. Training is one of the hardest thing. It'll always be one of the hardest things and one of the biggest, you know, thorns in company sides because it's tough. So, and I'm on the brokerage and I guess the carrier side too, but you know, justifying or paying someone well who is, what do we say, a non-revenue producing employee. So someone who isn't out booking freight, who isn't bringing money into the company or whatever it is, right, is something that a lot of companies don't want to do, right? So to pay somebody to just be a trainer, you don't see it very often. And how do you take somebody who would know what to do, who is good at it, and say, hey, you're good at this. You're making $250,000 a year doing it. We're going to have you train everybody, and we'll pay you $75,000 a year, which is great for a trainer and everything like it. No, they're not going to do that, right? So then you're taking these people that are promoted because they were great producers, and now they're managers or leaders, telling them to train people, and they've got all these people that don't have time. Freight's always moving, and so it's always been a huge thing for me to you know, I've had an office for quite some time now, but I've always had a floor desk. I've always been out there on the floor and tried to train live as best I can. The whole handle it thing, that's where that all started, was to get people to do things on their own and experience it after I kind of vetted the situation. But it's so key to find a way to, you can't mentor everybody. You can't save every sheep. But you can do what you can, you know, when the situation goes down, you know, and I say, hey, everybody here, come here. I want you guys to all watch how I do this here, you know, or
right.
Like anything you can do to possibly get something to click in their head. It's hard. It's hard because the people that are experienced, whether you're a driver or a broker, are making good money, and they're not going to stop what they're doing unless they retire or something and go and start training and make less to do that.
You know, I had this conversation with Grant Goodall and both Will Jenkins. And Will and I have talked about it quite a bit because, you know, how much would you save and how much could you save? And I say not money-wise and monetarily, and that's what people aren't going to go for, is if you had somebody that could come in and speak the experience in training to new brokers that come in, or handle an issue that is a situation between a carrier and, you know, the floor, or between a carrier and one of your customers and your mediator that, you know, can do that. You know, it's like I've said, I said, you know, I'd love to retire and be able to offer that, to where you go in and you spend half a day with, ask me questions of why I do what I do. Ask me questions why I tell you where I'm going to be and give you an ETA. It's real simple, but you're not going to think that way unless you're given that scenario and go, ooh, light bulb moment, which means, you know, I could give you an ETA, but I haven't eaten that day. I haven't gone to the bathroom that day. I have, you know, nobody stops to think. So then if you're not there at that ETA and they're tracking you, oh my gosh, everybody just blows up. And it's like, hey, did you eat lunch today? Hey, did you go to the bathroom today? It takes me, anyway now, it takes you at least 20 minutes to get off the road, go to the restroom, get back on the truck, and get back on the road. Well, that 20 minutes, that's like a blow up session for somebody that's tracking or a broker or somebody, even though you're going to be 2 hours early. And this is where people need to understand, why did you tell me that you were, 20 minutes away or 20 miles away, but you were 40 miles away? Well, if you look at the timestamp, you'll see I was 40 miles away. So let's go with the reality of it, and let's see why these certain things are happening. When I have to get questioned about every move I make, I'm 61 years old. And if you can't trust me any more than that, then don't hire me. That was my motto, and it would always stay that way. I can't make that decision today, but I'm just that little bit of a hard head. Would it work in today's market? Probably not. But there are carriers that would do it. But I think having somebody that can bring that into a brokerage and to brokerages that can actually sit down and answer the questions that everybody's bitching about.
Mm-hmm.
And, laying some of this to rest so that both aren't stressed, both are, quit backbiting with each other, or expectations are put to rest, and we all kind of know more what we're doing. Because, I'm sure carriers have a bazillion questions for agents and brokers too. But at the same time, I only have what I can give to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like carrier vetting. I'm struggling with one part of that, and I have my answers, but you can't convince anybody else that's gaining.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you, Ingrid? I think I lost Tony too. Hey guys. It's me, TJ. What are you doing? I think she'll hop back on. I think I know where she was getting at though. Oh, we lost her. She was in a dock. I think she just got unloaded in the dock there. And we got Tony on the road. And I think he was getting to where he was going there. So, oh, she said, I lost you. I'll be right back. I should be right back on. So, yeah, so I think I know what she was getting at there. And that's, that's the, the hard part is having that balance and have people, to touch on what she was saying is, I was blessed to kind of come up in a brokerage. Well, I mean, technically I started on the carrier side, but we were an asset-based brokerage. So we had trucks, right? So I was sitting next to, Galen, over there who's dispatching trucks and over there going, you son of a bitch, get your ass on the road and, drop your tandems, dirt, all these things, and it was like, you learned that, it's like, you knew, you talk to drivers, I'd go broker a load and then I'd turn around and find a backhaul for one of our drivers and have to talk to him. So it was a very good kind of overall experience and balance, when it came to it, because it kind of allowed me then, of course, as I transitioned, I went completely to the carrier side and only dealt with drivers, but it's hard to get that to some, because there's some brokers that'll never have that. I mean, never even have the opportunity to have that. So, and I don't think it's not like, having kids, where it's like, take your broker to work day. You know what I mean? Like you can't take a great broker in the truck with you. I mean, I guess you can, but until they get that experience, which some of them won't, it just really is about communication, openness, kind of, being able to empathy, have empathy, but not so much that you lose your values or what you're supposed to do. There's times you got to stick by what and there's times you got to stand your ground, right? But there's also times I think that if everybody holds each other accountable and does it in the right way, then I think everybody's getting better because of it. So, we lost Tony. I believe he's the last 2 shows now. He's been on the road. He's crazy. Ingrid's in the dock there. So I tell you what, we're going to call it because speaking of little kid, I got to go coach a little kids baseball team here. So I appreciate everybody joining. Always a good conversation with everybody. Always, something that you can always open up and go on and on and on and on about. So great comments as well. It's great to see everybody in here. I should have went through. I'm not good at that. I should go through and name all the people that jump in when they jump in, but I try to get as many comments up there as I can. So thanks for joining us today, guys, and we'll see you next week.